So in this one, we're going to start making our controls. So we're not going to, you can make them as fancy as you want, but basically we need to have some more user-friendly controls. So we can't keep selecting the bones. So I'm just going to go to my curves, and I'm going to select a NURB circle, and I'm going to keep them pretty simple. So I'm going to rename this my root CTR out, because this is going to be basically controlling this. It's going to be in charge of that. So I need to make sure that my controls don't have any transforms, so I don't want to move this around, even though it's going to stay at the origin. I want to group this. Just going to Control C, Control V. Then under that, I can right click, add my control vertex. And I want to adjust the size and scale of it. I want to try and get as much of the changing of it within its vertex. So I can just show hide joints. Select all of these and scale them up. Cool, and that's going to be our root. So make this big. Cool, and we're not going to link them up yet. We're just gonna make our controls. Then we'll worry about linking up afterwards. So I am going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this main, I guess, because now this is going to be able to control the movement of the body within the root. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to Control 1 and isolate that. And I'm just going to scale this down. This is going to be our main. So we can make this a little bit fancier. Let's just deselect those and we can scale them in, and maybe about that much. Select these other ones. Just scale them out, just so you know that that's the main control, I guess. Cool. So I'm now going to duplicate my root, and I'm going to call this I'm going to start like I did last time, start my right foot. And I'll just call this right foot CTR out. And you can call them whatever you want. You can just put R foot control. I'm just trying to make it as clear for the tutorial that that's just going to be our right foot. So I'm going to scale these down just so I can see it. And now what I want to do, because I need to keep these at 0 and always keep their particular orientation true. I'm going to move this now under my right foot control group. And I can just snap it to the center. I'll snap it to the center of this because it's probably more realistically the center. I'm just going to bring it in, probably snap it to the top of here as well. So all my transforms are currently on the group, whilst my actual foot control continues to keep a very clean transforms and very clean transforms basically with no scales on it. So what we can do is I'll just isolate, and we can modify this a little bit more into a sort of foot shape, I guess. You don't have to. You can leave this as crude as you like. There's no real set way. Well, there are guidelines, but at the end of the day, if it's quick and easy, this is kind of where we're aiming for here. We're not doing a we could go quite deep into rigging if we really wanted to, but this series is already long enough, so we're just going to go into the absolute basics that can get us going. So I'm just going to very roughly just make this a sort of fancy-ish foot shape. You don't have to. You can just you can leave it as a square if you want. And I'll probably just scale this whole thing up a bit. And I'll probably actually bring these in just so they're not overlapping. We're going to mirror it anyway, but don't really. One thing I don't really like is overlapping controls. So we can effectively leave it roughly like that, a little bit different, but it's entirely up to you. Cool. So we've done our foot. And with all those changes and edits, our transforms are still clean. So we've got our main control. So I'm going to now do the same for our sort of hip. I'm just going to duplicate our root. And you can move this on the group. Because we're kind of in at the origin, we've kept our model really nice and clean at this sort of origin, and we've not strayed away, and we've kept everything fairly reasonable. And you can make these as fancy as you want. You can even use a square, or yeah, but I'm just going to keep it. I don't want to overcomplicate it, so I'm going to call this hip. Control C. Cool. No, actually, I do need to, because I just realised my before doing that, that's wrong. Don't listen to me. I do need to bring this up in the group, so I do need to do my transforms, because I need to make sure that basically the whole idea of this is making sure I keep the actual transforms at 0, but also I want this to be here basically. But if I move it and adjust it on the vertices, I won't actually move it. I'll just be moving the vertices. So now I've got the translate on the group, but my actual transforms on my curve is clean. If that makes sense. Probably didn't explain that very well, but if you're watching, you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see. Cool, we've got a hip control. I'll probably just duplicate that as well. And this will be our torso control. So we can bring it up here if we want. I like to bring. I'm going to keep these close together because we're going to have, because the sort of proportions are a little bit cartoony. So I'm just going to keep that there. Control C. I can make this a little bit different. So I don't know. For me, this is fine, but you can go wild if you want. There's nothing stopping you. The world is your oyster. But I guess it makes it look a little bit more fancy, doesn't it? Cool. So now that's our sort of torso control. We've got all the I'm probably repeating myself, but all the translations are on the group and not the actual control. So I'm just going to go up and actually duplicate this up, and this is going to be our head control. I might as well just duplicate that again, and this can be our antenna control. So I'm going to rename this to head CTRL. bigger. And yeah, obviously you can make it as fancy as you like. Let's see how different we can make this. I don't really like that. So I'm just going to keep that as it is, basically. I know it's pretty plain, but it's enough to control it and do what you need, basically. So we've got our head control. Then this will be our antenna. And let's bring this in. And you know, why not? Let's make something a bit different. We can just translate that up, make it a little bit like a sine wave, I guess. And put that around there, and that will control the rotation of that. So it's actually quite useful to see that, because then we can actually see if that's ooh. Oh, we got a turn the snap off, and you should be able to see it spin now. So cool. So we've done our antenna control, torso control, hip control. We won't. It's pretty basic. It's not anything super complicated. And we've already got our pole vectors, which we don't need to do. We might have to take those out of the route. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to do the hand and the wrist. Sorry, the hand and the fingers. So I can just Control D, duplicate that, and I'll call this right hand CTR out. And what I want to do is go show joints, and I can just go hide polygons, and I can just go constraint point, constraint orient, so I know that's exactly correct. So we're working at that sort of angle anyway, so we already know that that's at the correct angle already. So I'm just going to shrink this down. And if you wanted to, you can, let's turn our step snap back on. We can rotate that 90 degrees. Show polygons. And up to you how complicated you want to make this. I am going to keep this extremely simple. I know it's probably quite boring, but so I'm just going to treat this like I need to get this done quickly, sort of thing. If it's a job you wanted to kind of, if you're doing like unless you're planning to show this for a show reel and stuff like that, how good your rigging is. If you're doing it as a freelance job, at the end of the day, you just want some controls to do the job, and it doesn't matter if they look amazing or fancy. They just need to do what they need to do. So I'm just going to duplicate that, and I'm going to call this right index 1 CTR out, because this bone should be called right index 1. Yep. Control C. Now I can just do the same again. Select that bone, and I want to constrain point, then constrain orient. So now that's actually following the orientation of that. Now I can delete that and see all my translations and rotations on here, but my actual curve is clean. And I'm just going to scale this down. guess you can make this as fancy as you like. It depends on how easy you want to see it. I'm honestly really not too fussed, if I'm honest. I can bring this up so I can see it much clearer if I wanted to. Just bring it out like that. Just so it's easy to see. Well, that's kind of gross, but it just means when this does sort of rotate, say if it rotates in, I can see it. Oh, no, I can't even see that, so let's just bring it out a bit. And you can effectively do this as well. So if you wanted your control, don't forget, because you're pulling them up like this, you can have your knuckle control here, and you can bring it up. And it's still got the same axis and rotus, but now if you rotate, so if you select that, that's still, let's turn off our snap. That's rotating from that pivot, so there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. In fact, we might actually do it that way because it's just nicer, I guess. Each to their own. There's no specific way, but I'll just make it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to duplicate that, and we'll call this right index 2. Then we'll just do the same here. Select that bone, then like that, and go point, constraint, orient. So these should follow it anyway, but it's good to check that there's no transforms on that. And I'll just duplicate this. Call this middle. We're on 17 minutes. So there are tools like there are tools that can do this, like build like curve tools that can create your specific shapes for you. That's fine. You can use those. There's nothing wrong with that. It just makes things a little bit faster, and you can make them look a little bit nicer. For me, it's just easier to quickly. That's middle 2. We did not call that middle 1. So make sure you do name them as correctly as you can. So it just makes things a lot easier. Straight, point, orient. Then just delete them. Cool, we're almost done making the controls. It's actually a little... Ooh. What have I done here? Oh, nothing, it's fine. I thought, for a second I thought I'd moved the pivot, but it's actually fine. Cool. Then we'll just duplicate that and call this middle. We'll just call this little 1 control. And the same again. So I'm just always doing it on the group. Point and orient. And just delete that. I'm just going to duplicate that again. Call this right little 2. And the same again. And we're pretty much done for making the controls. Then we can mirror the ones across. So let's just minimize all this. You can see we've got quite a few little groups here. We can see we've made Like, this will be hidden because that's actually just like our little helper, so don't worry about that. It's not a control, and we've already got our pole vectors here. Cool, so we've made all these. So now what we need to do is just mirror our left foot over to our right foot, basically. So let's get our right foot, and let's get our right hand control, right index. Ooh. What we can do is, if we control G on that, we can just use the mirror that I always pretty much use, and that's -1. That's a bit of a, probably an old-fashioned way of doing it. There are mirror tools, but that should now be mirrored across in the exactly correct place. So if we select this, oh, that's mud in this ready. A should be in the right place. So now all we need to do is actually, we can probably, if we select all of this, we can go to where is rename, modify, great. Where is rename? I edit, sorry. I've forgotten where it is. Modify. Is it? Oh, it's in here somewhere. I've forgotten where it is. Oh, I feel like I'm going blind. Edit keys. There we go. Search and replace names. I feel like an idiot now. So we're going to go search for right, replace with left, and hopefully that should now replace all the things that we want. And we don't want to shift P all of that out, because then that's going to add transforms to our curves. So we only want to select the group. So now if we select a group, shift P, we should have our left foot controller. But on our control, we should have nothing. So if we did, oh, it didn't actually, let's undo that. Do you know what? I forgot to duplicate it. So duplicate the group. You can shift P these out. You don't need those in that group. That was a bit silly. It's a group 2. Let's just put that back. Shift P. Made a bit of a mess as usual. And let's select all these ones we've just duplicated over and just rename this to search and place range, left and right, and replace. So now we've got our left and our right foot controls. Now hopefully, you know, when we mirrored this over, if we select these and rotate them out, they should now, yeah, they kind of rotate on their actual mirrored axis. And yeah, so we've done, and we can delete this group. And now we've done all our controls. Let's double check. No, we haven't done all our controls. Let me just turn the oven off quickly. Cool, so I've just done that. So we need to also do our eyes, which I completely forgot. So let's grab our head. Do you know what? Let's use a... No, let's keep with the... Oh, I'll just duplicate our head. And we'll call this main eyes CTRL. So this will be that one that controls all the eyes together. And I'm actually just going to rotate that 90 degrees. But actually, no, with that I can. I think I actually want to do that with the control vertex. I could be wrong. We'll find out when we put it all together. And we'll just, no, we'll turn our step snap relative, just rotate that 90 degrees. I'm just going to pull this forward. And I'm going to hold V and snap to the sort of center of the eyes. But actually, yeah, no, that's all good. So we've got the center of the eyes here. In fact, I'm going to just hold V and snap it. There. Just pull this out. I'm just going to make this a little bit more eye shape friendly, I guess. Let's make it a little bit more squarish. Cool. So now it's going to be our main eye sort of control, and you can even like we can edit that afterwards. Thinking about it's actually tricky because it doesn't work like a normal eye. It because they're kind of pointing outwards. Let's duplicate that. In fact, let's not duplicate that. Let's just quickly go to our head one and duplicate that again. Control D. We'll just call this left. We'll start with the right again. Right. I. CTRL. And we'll do the same again with our curve. We'll just rotate it 90 degrees. Probably scale this down a bit. Let's where is our right eye is probably hidden because it's turned into a mesh light. I am just going to actually brute force that instead of messing around with so I'm just going to use this to, in fact, actually if I snap it to here, let's have a snap off. Off. What we're going to do is try and get this. It's looking a bit messy, but cool. Just going to pull that out. Do I want to do that? No, I don't want to do that because then I'm controlling it in a funny sort of way. So I am just going to pull this up and put that in the center here. I can put them slightly offset. They don't have to be. Because they're going to look at this no matter what. that's going to look at it with the offset. So let's not do that. Let's do it on the control vertex and scale it down. Probably want to make this a little bit bigger as well, but I shouldn't worry too much because I just don't like it overlapping. Cool. So we've got that, the right head, main eyes control. Oh, that's looking pretty rough. So I'm just going to select that Control G, mirror it in the. Make sure I duplicate it, then mirror it. Let's bring these back so they're not being pulled. Let's adjust this actually, because I don't really like how that's looking. I know it's pretty basic, but just minus one. What we could do, Shift P that out of the group, and the same with this one. Just like that. You can get rid of these two groups, and now you do have all your controls. I know they're pretty basic and not amazing, but it should be enough for what we need. So hopefully you've enjoyed the tutorial. I know it's been pretty basic, but you can create your own ones, and we've kind of gone through little tricks that we can do. And we haven't actually done the thumbs, so let's quickly do those. How did I forget to do that? I think it's just getting too ahead of myself. Let's duplicate that and call this right. Thumb. I guess I probably could just end the tutorial here and you'll get the idea, but where'd be the fun in that? So just gonna do the same again. Right thumb, control, go to rigging, constrain, point, and orient. So that's in the correct place. Delete that. Control D, duplicate. Let's call this 2. Cool. Now we've got our thumb controls, and I'll just control G, then Control D, -1. And now we've got thumb controls over here. I'm just going to do the same with this one. Just select my modify, search, replace names, right and left, and replace. So now it's left thumb. And I can select both these. Shift P to remove it from those groups. Delete that. And what I'll do, I'll just left thumb, index, right thumb. Cool. Let's just put them in the right place. So now we should have all our controls. So where is? Hold on a second. Did I not? I swear I duplicated that. Maybe I didn't actually constrain it. Point. Orient. Delete that. Delete that group. God, I'm making so many mistakes now. Control D, and then -1. So now we have our thumbs. Then we'll Shift P and get rid of those groups. And I'll put my right thumb. Let's rename these. modify, search, replace names, replace. Just put our left thumb with our index, our right thumb with our right index. And now we are done, even though we've got all our controls. So cool. Yeah, I made a few mistakes, but we've just blocked out our controls, and we'll set them up properly in a minute. So yeah, in the next one we'll set them up. So hopefully you've enjoyed that tutorial. There are tools out there that you can make your own sort of controls, but and yeah, and you can go through and make these own specific colors as well if you want, but I'm not going to worry about that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, it really does help, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.